Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're cracking open something quite interesting. It's a set of, well, notes and concepts outlining a vision for something called Bangsaen AI Studio.
Yeah, and it really offers a thought-provoking blueprint for maybe rethinking education in some ways.
Absolutely. So this deep dive, we're really focusing on understanding the core idea here, how this project tries to bridge some of those gaps we see in traditional learning.
Especially, when you get to subjects that can seem a bit complex or maybe intimidating, like AI, for instance.
Right. And our mission really is to unpack the philosophy behind this whole thing, what the source material calls the three pillars, or Kanatanha in the original Thai.
We want to get a handle on how this framework aims to make learning not just, effective, but genuinely engaging, maybe even, well, the notes say magical.
Yeah, magical. Get ready, because it does challenge some common assumptions about how we learn, how knowledge gets transferred.
Okay, so where does the source material start? It seems to kick off by identifying some, let's say, fundamental issues it sees in education right now.
It does. It points straight at this significant disconnect between what kids are often required to learn and what they actually want to do, what they're motivated by.
And there's also that gap between, say, getting a grade on a test, the formal assessment, and really internalizing the knowledge, truly getting it.
Yeah, and often another gap between having all this powerful tech available and, well, the actual human spirit of curiosity, the joy of learning.
And the Bangsaen AI Studio concept, it's specifically designed, it seems, to tackle those gaps head on.
Right. The bridge they're proposing is built on these three pillars. The blueprint uses this metaphor, describing them as three essential streams of energy.
Powering the world of their guide character, this Wizard Ali.
Wizard Ali, yeah.
Oh.
Who isn't about lecturing, apparently, but more about leading an adventure. That's how the notes put it.
Okay, so let's look at that first pillar, the one that feels like the invitation into this world. Edutainment.
Edutainment.
Precisely. It's presented as the first sort of power stream, the initial way to draw kids in. It's that potent mix of education and entertainment.
Built on the idea, I guess, that the best learning happens when you're having so much fun, you almost don't notice you're absorbing stuff.
Exactly. That's the core belief. So the focus isn't on, delivering lessons in the traditional sense. It's really about crafting these compelling adventures.
Storytelling seems key here. With Wizard Ali, who comes from this dimension of multiple intelligences, acting just as a guide within this narrative quest.
Yeah, it's structured very much like a game. Each video isn't just content you watch passively, it's presented as a mission brief.
Okay, and exercises.
They're not work. They're framed as, like, puzzles you need to solve. And giving an answer isn't just giving an answer.
It's casting a spell or mastering a technique within the game's world.
Exactly, within the logic of that world.
This is where it starts to get really interesting, I think. The source suggests this shift, this fundamental change, takes a child from feeling like they have to learn something to genuinely wanting to play and conquer the challenges presented.
Right, that intrinsic motivation.
But does the blueprint explain how edutainment achieves that so effectively, that shift?
Well, it emphasizes immersion and relevance by embedding the learning goals inside activities that kids actually find engaging. Solving mysteries, beating obstacles, leveling up in a game-like way.
You remove that external pressure, the you must learn this feeling.
Exactly. The reward becomes beating the challenge itself, which is the very essence of intrinsic motivation. It's framed as the critical spell, the thing that makes them want to engage and keep engaging.
Okay, so edutainment is the hook. It pulls them into the adventure, willingly. Makes sense. What happens then? How do they make sure real deep learning is actually happening once the kids are captivated?
Well, that brings us neatly to the second pillar, stealth learning.
Stealth learning. The magic of concealment, as they put it.
Right. This is where the necessary skills, the knowledge, gets transferred, but with deliberate subtlety. It's quite clever.
So the goal isn't just creating kids who know facts about AI.
No, not primarily.
Yeah.
The ultimate goal, according to the source, is fostering the underlying computational thinking skills. So they can think logically, creatively, solve problems almost like an AI might.
But without necessarily knowing all the formal jargon or definitions yet.
Precisely. So they take the complex concepts, especially the ones fundamental to AI and computational thinking, break them right down.
And embed them skillfully within the adventure's missions, the puzzles.
Exactly. It becomes learning by doing but without that explicit academic label slapped on it.
Can you give an example?
Sure. So instead of a lecture defining, say, an algorithm, a child might get a task in Wizard Ollie's world to find the most efficient path through some confusing maze.
Oh, okay. Learning the concept through application.
Or, instead of studying machine learning theory from a book, they might be guided through teaching a virtual creature to do something by giving it examples, giving it feedback.
So they're learning the process of training a model implicitly, without maybe even using the term machine learning.
Exactly. That approach seems designed to integrate these sometimes difficult principles almost invisibly. The focus is squarely on the application, the thinking process, not just memorizing terms.
So it's about building those really essential 21st century skills, you know, sequential logic, pattern recognition, problem solving.
But delivered without the potential boredom or maybe even anxiety that can come with conventional classroom instruction.
Yeah. The knowledge becomes woven into the adventure itself, like a secret power they acquire along the way.
And making this all seamless, making it effective, that relies heavily on the third pillar, EdTech, the magic of connection.
Right, the technology underpinning everything.
This provides the structure, the intelligence behind the scenes.
The blueprint calls it the entire condominium of Bangsaen AI, the technological backbone. It's what makes the learning tangible and, importantly, responsive.
Yeah, it includes elements like something called the grimoire, which is depicted as this sort of magical notebook interface where kids interact, give their answers.
Like their spell book.
Kind of, yeah. And then there are the systems behind that, managing the data, processing the information. Essentially, it's the intelligent engine powering the whole personalized experience.
And this tech pillar, it seems to serve two really critical functions in the blueprint. First, personalization.
Definitely. The system isn't just marking answers right or wrong. It's analyzing how the child interacts, their successes, where they struggle, treating all that as data.
To understand their unique strengths and maybe areas needing a bit more support.
Yes. And based on that understanding, the technology dynamically crafts the next mission or challenge for that specific child.
Ah, so it adjusts the difficulty on the fly.
Exactly. It ensures it's just right, challenging enough to encourage growth, but not so hard that the child gets frustrated and gives up.
So nobody gets left behind, but also nobody gets bored because it's too easy for them.
That's the idea. That level of individual tailoring, especially at scale, is presented as vital.
Okay, personalization is one function. What's the second key role for the EdTech pillar?
Insight. The system translates all that interaction data into clear, understandable development reports for parents or guardians.
Ah, so it gives them a window into what the child is actually learning and how they're progressing.
Right, highlighting aptitudes, maybe areas for further focus, but without needing parents to decipher, traditional academic jargon or just look at a letter grade.
It connects what's happening inside the adventure to a real, actionable understanding of the child's development for the adults involved. What really strikes me about this blueprint, though, is the emphasis that these three pillars, edutainment, stealth learning, EdTech, they aren't just separate components working in isolation.
No, absolutely not. They're envisioned as a continuous, reinforcing cycle. That's crucial.
How does that cycle work?
Well, edutainment pulls you in, right? With the fun, the engagement.
The hook.
The hook. Then, stealth learning ensures that while you're having fun on this adventure, you're actually acquiring essential skills, core knowledge, just discreetly.
Okay.
And then EdTech is constantly observing, measuring, adapting the experience based on your interactions. And that feeds directly back into creating the next perfectly tailored piece of the adventure.
Ah, I see. So the tech's insights from stealth learning help shape the next phase of edutainment.
Precisely. The cycle creates this self-reinforcing learning ecosystem. You engage because it's fun, edutainment.
You learn because the knowledge is embedded right into that fun stealth learning.
And the technology makes sure the journey is always right for you, adapting constantly, EdTech, which then makes the next engagement even more effective, starting the cycle again.
It's the blueprint where, and I like how the source puts this, magic and knowledge are the same thing.
Yeah, it's a great phrase. And it's not just poetic, it seems to be the core mechanism they believe integrates that intrinsic motivation with deep, genuine learning.
The wonder and engagement of the magic are the way the knowledge is acquired, so they become indistinguishable.
That's the concept. The fun is the learning process.
Okay, so let's wrap up this deep dive into the Bangsaen AI Studio blueprint. we've unpacked this unique three-pillar approach.
Edutainment as the compelling way in.
Stealth learning for embedding those crucial skills and knowledge subtly within the adventure.
And EdTech as the smart engine driving personalization and providing those valuable insights back to everyone.
Right. It's an ecosystem where these pieces work together, constantly feeding each other, aiming to make complex learning, like AI concepts, intrinsically engaging. Effective because it blurs the lines between play and understanding.
We've seen how each pillar has its distinct job, but they're totally interconnected, aren't they? Fun attracts and keeps you motivated.
The hidden depth builds those fundamental thinking skills.
And the tech personalizes the path and shows the progress clearly. It's a vision built very intentionally to bridge those gaps we talked about at the start.
Yeah, that gap between wanting to play and needing to learn.
Okay.
Between getting a grade and really getting it. And between, powerful tools and just the simple joy of discovery.
It's quite ambitious.
It really is. So it leaves us with a thought, doesn't it? AI thinking, computational logic, inside engaging, almost invisible activities. How else could we maybe rethink teaching other difficult subjects? Or traditionally dry ones? How could we make them intrinsically motivating, genuinely understood?
And if learning becomes this kind of integrated, almost game-like experience powered by data, what does that imply for the future? How would we even assess genuine understanding then?
Yeah, big questions. Something for you to ponder, perhaps reflecting on how you learned the things that really stuck with you in your own life. Was it always in a classroom?